We'll also do an executive order today which directs employers to provide essential workers with a cloth or surgical face mask to their employees when they are interacting with the public. And they should provide those masks cost-free. New Jersey did a similar order, and I think Governor Murphy was right, and I want to do that here in the state of New York. We have to also expand testing. One of the ways we want to do that is by executive order, we're going to expand the number of people who are eligible to do the antibody test. We have state regulations that say who can actually do the antibody test. There are two tests. One is the diagnostic test. One is the antibody test. The antibody test tells you if the person had the virus and got over the virus. That would be a prime person who could go back to work because they theoretically have an immunity to the virus for a period of time. They're not sure what the period of time is. There aren't a tremendously large number of people with the antibodies, which is good news because we kept down the infection rate. But that is an important test, and we have to get that test to scale, and this executive order will help do that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.